When Crossfire was revealed at Summer Games Fest a few months ago, players were shown a AAA military shooter with high production value storytelling. But a trailer can only demonstrate so much, and Crossfire has a lot of big ideas it's attempting to pull off. This is why several months ago That's No Moon invited me to their studio in Southern California to learn about the 5-year struggle they've undertaken, to ensure that their debut game is not only well received, but marks a meaningful evolution in the world of third-person shooters. Because Crossfire is a game attempting to buck several game design trends that have somewhat calcified the shooter genre over the past decade. So between now and the game's eventual release, we're going to be dropping videos exploring the work behind the game design challenges they're attempting to solve. We'll show you how they employed Hollywood's best performance capture talent and techniques to craft a cinematic experience. We'll reveal the origin of the game's antagonists and much more. But today we're going to explain why and how the team decided to reinvent the cover shooter and the technology driving this design. We'll let you know how the Crossfire IP got involved in all of this, and we'll try and answer the most important question: how are they going to be able to pull this off?
The origin of That's No Moon was Jacob and I working at Infinity Ward, making Call of Duty, trying to infuse as much storytelling as we could. And I think we did some good work there, but it's the campaign, the multiplayer, the co-op, Warzone, all of that stuff. And so these single player games, these bespoke, narratively driven, character driven single player games, you don't have a lot of opportunities to make those kinds of games like Naughty Dog games. So that's really the origin of That's No Moon, is the opportunity for us to make those kinds of single player experiences that we really, really love.
Taylor Kurosaki and I have been working together for about 17, 18 years at this point. I met him back when I joined Naughty Dog, and then he and I went to Infinity Ward together, where we worked on Call of Duty, made a couple good games there. The thing about me is I get bored. You know, I make a game there, I make a sequel, maybe I'm on the third one, and I feel like I've identified the patterns of what we're doing. You know, a thing that Taylor and I both say is we only have so many at-bats. With every project, if we're not doing something new, something different, something that at least in a small way pushes the industry forward, why are we even doing it?
That's No Moon was founded in Los Angeles in 2021 by a handful of developers, many of whom were veterans of Naughty Dog, Sony San Diego, and Infinity Ward. But the story of how this studio came to be is unlike most I've covered. Instead of looking for investors and shopping around demos to publishers in an effort to fund the development of this game, That's No Moon was born out of a need from Korean video game company Smilegate, a company that has had massive success in Asia, but so far struggled to break into the Western market.
This studio started because Smilegate was looking for someone to make a single player game. So what they really wanted, what they asked for, is they asked for a single player version of Crossfire. And I had never even heard of Crossfire. That has been like $1 billion a year maker, many, many years running. And so they needed to find a team that could help them achieve success in the West. And they found us.
I know they were shopping that around, but at that time in 2020, 2021, there literally were no studios. So they realized, hey, we have to actually build this studio. And also, like I know with Taylor and Jacob, it's like, this is the kind of game they have been wanting to make.
We've had stories we wanted to tell and innovations we wanted to do in the back of our minds for a long time. And the opportunity just hadn't arisen. With the amount of resources and creative control that Smilegate was offering, we felt we would have the opportunity to do a bunch of things that we had not previously had the freedom to do.
That's No Moon had been given a fantastic opportunity, the budget and creative control to develop their type of game. The only creative box they'd have to work within was the Crossfire IP, but considering Crossfire is an online tactical FPS with very little narrative baggage, they had almost as much creative freedom as they would have with a brand new world. But with a new studio and a relatively unknown IP, the team was aware that they wouldn't be able to stand out from the crowd by simply making a big-budget shooter. They were going to have to do something exciting and different, to break new gameplay ground in a genre that has become relatively stagnant. And it was during this discovery phase that the team landed on a new style of shooter gameplay that would marry advancements in the world of animation with recent breakthroughs in geometry and lighting technology.
When we looked at Unreal Engine 5, we saw this demo. It was called the Valley of the Ancients. And it was using technologies like nanite and lumen, and we had never seen anything like this before. And a lot of breakthroughs promise the world, and when you really get under the hood, it's like there's not a lot of there. But nanite and lumen are real. And they basically allow you to push super complex geometry, incredible complexity and incredible draw distances and all this kind of stuff. When Jacob saw this in particular, he said, we have to change the way that we make the game.
As video gamers, we've gotten very used to simplified shapes in our environments. We've gotten very used to crates. We've gotten very used to warehouses and flat ground. And we just kind of accept that that's what a video game world looks like. And I have, for over a decade now, been like, I want to be in a more complex environment. But unfortunately, the technology has lagged behind, and we haven't been able to make that.
In the same way that Gears of War was like, I'd never seen anything like this before, and I would walk into a space and I would go, what's going to happen here? And then I was surprised and delighted when enemies infilled into the space. Oh my God, I'm now having combat here. Well, it's not surprising anymore when you come into a space and you see low cover and high cover. You know what's going to happen. What's going to happen is enemies are going to infill. And so we've lost that surprise and delight that we once had. And in this game, I think we're trying to get that back.
Many years ago at this point, I'm not sure how many, probably like 12 or something, I had read a SIGGRAPH paper about phase function neural networks and the way that people were using them with motion matching to create extremely high fidelity character movement. I had pitched people at other companies like, hey, we should do this, we should use this technology, and the pushback I always got was basically, that's very expensive and very risky. We already have a tech stack that is very mature, that we've been working with for decades, and it doesn't have that in it. You're working on an IP that people are already going to buy just because it has the name on it. So why would we invest that amount of risk, that amount of money, into implementing this new innovation? And you know, from my perspective, I'm like, because I want to push the industry forward, because I want to push the medium forward, because I want to do something better and cool, and like, why would I just keep doing the thing that I've been doing when there's opportunities to do something better, more interesting, more special?
We can't just make boxes, box world, and then pretty it up after the fact. We need to be able to like move in these very complex organic spaces, non-rectilinear spaces, and now we need technology that allows us to move in these spaces, and a technology that allows us to sort of take cover on these non-rectilinear surfaces.
I showed our CTO a screenshot from the movie Triple Frontier, where there were a bunch of soldiers taking cover on the side of this mountain that has all these tumbled rocks. And I also took a video of myself taking cover on and crawling through rocks in Malibu Creek State Park, just giving people the vision of, we're not allowed to build these spaces in video games right now. These are illegal spaces. But a human can navigate them. And here's how a human navigates them. And here's a cool Hollywood movie showing how soldiers navigate. And here's me with my busted back, you know, with like elbow pads, just trying to like mime it on the ground. Imagine what it would be like if the player could enter cover, deflect their stick, and the character would automatically take the appropriate stances, movement, using motion matching. And the CTO looked at it and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So that was 5 years ago.
I think you can now come into a space and really not know if combat's going to happen because you don't see these rectilinear, these giveaways of cover. because there's no metrics. It's not low cover, high cover, it's not rigid, it's just an organic environment that looks like it could exist in the real world, and then combat can happen there. The engineering lift of being able to move smoothly in these complex environments and to be able to use these non-rectilinear shapes as cover, that is the hardest thing that we've had to solve in this game, but it's the thing that I think is really going to make this game feel different from the games that have come before it.
That's No Moon was founded with Crossfire as its first project, which meant that the team was able to hire developers for the specific needs of the game. They were able to tell prospective employees exactly what type of game they were going to be working on. And so they collected their team, veterans in animation from series like Assassin's Creed, some of the most experienced level designers in online first-person shooters. They built their very own performance capture stage inside the studio's warehouse, and made sure it was managed by Hollywood experts, including veterans of James Cameron's Avatar series. But before we end this one, I want to bring up something which I think is important. The cover system in Crossfire isn't just an animation gimmick. It's something that extends outward into the design of the entire game, from how enemies move and communicate, their strategies and abilities, how the levels and combat engagements are designed, and crucially, the challenge of the game too. Crossfire is not an arcade shooter. For cover to be important, the bullets need to hurt. Balancing this challenge is something the team is working hard on, because not only does this difficulty mirror the game's design, but it's also crucial to the central relationship of the game's story.
I generally like games that have a little more challenge and a little more depth. Not like that are punishing and that are unfair, of course, but games where I can kind of sink my teeth in, where I can play with the systems and you feel a real sense of accomplishment when you succeed. So not only is there that component of it, but there's also the narrative component. This is a story about two enemy soldiers who are forced together, who must work together in order to succeed. And so if the game were easy, it breaks the narrative. When you have these cutscenes of like, look, I don't like you and you don't like me, and any other day we'd be firing against one another, but on today we have to work together. If you were then like Duke Nukeming through the levels, again, the narrative doesn't hold. And so the difficulty is not just because player taste or my taste or Jake's taste, it's that the narrative requires the game to be hard.
In general, every project that I've worked on, we've been told by people who have the creative control, we want to fight a villain. We want somebody to hate. We want a mustache-twirling bad guy that you want to shoot at the end. And Taylor and I believe that the vast majority of people in the world are good. And it's just about different perspectives. You know, we think that it's really important to have empathy and to recognize the narrative of the other as valid. So although we make stories about war, making those stories about the other side being irredeemable always rang false to us. And we really wanted to make stories that were more about how it is circumstance that makes enemies of people. Had I been brought up under those circumstances, had I lived in this country, had I undergone these particular privations, perhaps I would be in the same place. We often try to tell those stories and then get huge pushback and have to make a mustache-twirling bad guy. So the opportunity to tell a story in the Crossfire world, which is an IP that inherently is built on two sides that are fighting each other but are equally right and equally wrong, that interested us because we wouldn't have to fight against the IP. The world is already built in an even-handed way in the Crossfire IP. So let's leverage that, let's use that, let's take that opportunity to tell the story that we wanted to tell.
With Crossfire, That's No Moon are attempting to break new ground, and between now and launch we'll be releasing new videos which explore the people behind that work and the challenges they've had to overcome, from the design of the game's world and unique enemies, to the technology challenge of creating adaptive cover, and of course the work of the actors and the crew to capture a story that drives the action forward. See you again soon.